Good morning students. Welcome to All Fours e-learning classes. Today we are going through economics first year. That is first unit, Introduction to Economics. So here we are going to watch today an important topic, that is microeconomics, macroeconomics. Again I tell you, microeconomics, macroeconomics. So this particular concept of micro and macro has been coined by Ragnar Frecht in 1933. He is the first person who divided economics into micro and macro. So according to Ragnar Frecht, economics is supposed to be studied in two levels, micro level as well as macro level. With this action itself, you may be getting an idea that we are going to see at smaller level and larger level. Okay, now first we will see the exact idea where these words have been derived. These words have been derived from Greek. In Greek, micro means small, very small. How small? Small means this much, this much, this much. What is the small size? Actually, when you divide something into 10 lakhs of parts, the 10 lakhs of part means 1/1,000,000th of the part is called as micro. So anything that is 1/1,000,000th of part is called as micro. So when you see anything in short or smaller levels, then we will call it microeconomics. When we see the things in toto, together, put together in aggregates, okay, then we will call it macro, larger parts. Okay, microeconomics and macroeconomics, which is divided by whom? Ragnar Frecht. In which year? Come on, tell me. In the year of 1933. Today we will see how these two topics are important. Actually, classical economics given more importance to microeconomics. In their point of view, it is very important to study the microeconomics, watching everything in smaller units. Okay, and after 1930s, particularly after 1933, in 1936, J.M. Keynes wrote his book General Theory on Employment, etc. In that one, he given more importance to macroeconomics. So actually, if you watch this in closer distances, you will start understanding why we should see the things in micro level and macro level. For example, whenever we talk about the results of your half yearly exams, quarterly exams, unit tests, how we will see? First we will see how many marks we got in each subject, micro method, and we see what are your total marks, that is macro method. See, when you put together all the subject marks, you will get the total. That aggregate is generally covered by macro, and in each and every subject, how you are performing, that performance will be measured by that subject marks, smaller, larger, that is micro. When we see the things smaller level, micro, in toto, in aggregates, it is macro. Clear? Okay, now we will see how this is very important to understand microeconomics and macroeconomics playing the roles of different levels in economics. We will see the scope of microeconomics first. First, let us understand what is meant by scope. Scope means the area which is covered under by microeconomics. Scope means like all the different contents which are we will see in the light of microeconomics. Okay, now we are going to watch scope of microeconomics. This is basically divided into three levels: product pricing, factor pricing, and economic welfare. So theory of product pricing, theory of factor pricing, theory of economic welfare. When it comes to theory of product pricing, we need to understand product prices depends on two things. Here comes again theory of demand, theory of production and cost. In simple level, we are going to watch everything in individual levels, smaller levels. In this one, how a product like this chalk piece, how this chalk piece price is going to be fixed. This is a product. The cell you are watching is a product. The fan which is moving over your head is a product. How that product price is being fixed, how the product pricing have happened. Now we will see. The product pricing depends upon two things like demand and cost. First one is demand. More the demand, automatically price will be higher. More people are ready to purchase, the price increases. So that is one theory. So in the product pricing, demand will play a vital role. Second point is theory of production and cost. If the production is very easy and simple, then the price will be low. And cost, yesterday we had a discussion, 4 factors of production. 4 factors of production. Here we will see those factors which help the production. They are 4. Whatever we or producer pays to these 4 factors of production will be called as cost. Never use the word cost in place of price. They are not synonyms. They are different words. They represent different meaning. In the previous classes I told you, price means what a consumer pays to purchase a commodity. Cost means what a producer pays to produce a commodity. Whom this producer is paying? To the 4 factors of production. So that cost is also decides the pricing of a product. If the cost increases, price of the product increases. If the cost decreases, then price of the product decreases, in simple way. Next we will see factor pricing. Factor again, we did come to the same thing. How this factor price will be decided? See, land is land, but is the price of the land is same everywhere? No, it is not so. Price of the land is different in different places. Like, you know, whichever the city you are staying now. For example, let us take a town of Karimnagar. Okay, in Karimnagar, the main business area is tower. Do you think some 1 square yard of a place in this tower area is going to be the same price away from the town? No, price will be different. So here we will see not only land, each and every labor is not going to be paid the same level. In your 10th class, I can give you the best example. Who used to be paid more? Mathematics teacher or Telugu teacher? Obviously you will be saying that mathematics teacher. Who will be paid more? English teacher or Telugu teacher? Obviously you are saying English teacher. But the thing is, it always depends on how much of supply of that particular product. Telugu, English, mathematics, that decides the wage. See how the factor pricing is going to happen is discussed under microeconomics. Under this microeconomics, we are covering particularly factor pricing. So land rent depends on the area where that land is. If the more demand, price will be more. Wage depends on the labor. Everyone won't work in the same level. So that will decide the wage. Next, interest. That is for capital. Land will get rent, labor will get wage, and capital is going to be the interest. This interest rate is also not going to be the same. See, what is the risk factor? That we will discuss later in detail. More the risk factor, more the interest will be. Lesser the interest, that risk factor, lesser the interest rate. And profits. These profits are earned by organizer. I told you, land, labor, capital and organizer. Profits are the returns to organizer. So this organizer is not going to get his profit just like that. It always depends upon his skills, managerial skills, and allocation of resources, investment of not only money, investment of his time, his thoughts, his experience, everything matters. So the more experienced, more hardworking gets more profit, less hardworking, less experienced will get less profit. So these four factors get the prices. These are the prices of four factors which will be decided by microeconomics, because individually we will see individual land, individual labor, individual investment of capital, individual organizer. So see here, everything we are watching in smaller units. Demand of a particular commodity, cost of production of a particular commodity, because there are thousands, lakhs of products are there which satisfy our wants. We are not talking about all of them. We will talk one thing at a time. One thing at a time. One thing's demand, one product cost, one product production, one product pricing, factors, one piece of land, one labor wages, at one place investment, that capital's interest, one organizer profit. With this you come to a conclusion that microeconomics always watches the things in smaller levels, micro levels, 1/1,000,000th of levels, like individual person. See, when we see the marks in a class, what the class teacher says, our total percentage of passing is this much. Didn't you heard that? Total class percentage. If you are 50 students are there, out of that 40 students passed, then she will say 80% of the students passed, macro level. After that, individually she will call roll number 1, you got total of so and so many marks, micro level, that is individual level. Rule number 21, who is rule number 21? Yeah. So roll number 21, stand up, you got 550 out of 600. That's a very good mark, individual marks. In that one, in my subject you got 99 marks. See, more individual, one subject. So we are coming closer. One class, one school, one class, one student, one subject. See, the smaller you become, the more details you will get. That is studied under micro. Smallest parts in the total economy, plenty of commodities. Out of that, we will select one commodity. In that one commodity, we will select one area. In that one area, how much of that product is going to be sold in a day at a particular price. See, when we are making it smaller, that is going to be discussed under this microeconomic concepts. Now, the last one is economic welfare. Yes, it is the duty of governments to see the welfare of total economy, how the people are getting their returns. It can be considered under theory of distribution. 4 factors are working to produce, whether these 4 factors are getting the returns in proper manner or not. If one factor is getting more, then it will be considered by this microeconomics. So I hope you do understand what is microeconomics scope. The scope, the area which is covered under microeconomics is product pricing, factor pricing, and theories of economic welfare. Theory of demand, theory of production and cost, and rent to land, wage to labor, interest to capital, profit to organizer, and how the government will take the activities so that each and every one will be gained properly, that is economic welfare. Now we will see the importance of this microeconomics. Okay, now we will see first point, free market and resources, allocation of resources. Microeconomics always believes in free economy, laissez-faire, which has been proposed by Alfred Marshall. Let the market take its own decision. Government involvement should be very less, if possible none, in the market. It's supposed to take care of peace and tranquility of the people. That is the main aim of microeconomics. So free market system is proposed by microeconomics, and along with that, allocation of resources. For what this particular resource have to be used, for what type of production the resources have to be used, because you know resources are limited, scarce. We need to use them very carefully. We have to use less of the resource and get more of the production. So here we will see the first point is microeconomics supports the free market, and it talks about the allocation of resources. Second point is government policies. Government supposed to decide which resource supposed to be used for which product. Like nowadays it is deciding, the central government decided. Previously the coal mines used to be under the control of government, but now they decided coal mines can be used by privateers. See, nowadays almost all the coal mines are under the control of privateers. Not the old ones. Old ones are still under the control of Singareni collieries. But nowadays whichever are going to be digged freshly, opened freshly, they all are under the control of privateers. See, government policy. And it also decides what to be produced. See, whenever there is a scarcity of sugar, immediately government will decide that give more loans to the sugar farmers, I mean sugarcane farmers. So automatically sugarcane production increases. Automatically sugar production also increases. That comes under government policies. Now you got it clearly? Otherwise, give me a ring and you will get the answer. Next, economic welfare. Government has to decide how the welfare of public can be decided. This economic welfare is controlled or decided by the government policies. Next is international trade and exchange rate. What is profitable in exports and imports? See, better we import only capital goods. Nowadays people are purchasing a lot of Chinese commodities which are consumer goods. We need to stop it. Instead of that, we have to import capital goods which will help the Indians to make in India, to produce those commodities in India itself. Then automatically India employment opportunities increases. If you purchase or import consumer goods, China is going to get the profits. If you import only capital goods, then if you produce consumer goods, we will consume them and we will even export them. When you are going to export the consumer goods, you will get a lot of profits. The balance of payments are going to be positive one, surplus one. To get the surplus balance of payments, we need to export more and import less. That is discussed under international trade. More you import, more money you have to pay to the foreign countries. Next one is exchange rate. That is exchanging of currency. Like you watch nowadays in the TV that American dollar price has increased in Indian currency. It's like 74 rupees or 75 rupees last time when I seen. 75 rupees per $1. That is exchange rate. Purchasing price will be different and selling price will be different. The same American dollar. Okay, here you can see that exchange rates covered under microeconomics. Next, tax system and burden of movement. We have a lot of taxes. Already we had a discussion about that. A thumbs up bottle which we purchase from 15 rupees to 20 rupees is produced with a cost, with a production cost of 3 rupees. Then why this 3 rupees thumbs up bottle we are purchasing for 15 or 20 rupees? Simplest reason, there are taxes. And this tax burden is not same on sellers and buyers for each and every commodity. For different commodities, that burden of taxing will be different on the different consumers and producers. There are some taxes like excise that is supposed to be paid by whom? Producer. The same time, what it is GST supposed to be paid by consumer. We are watching whenever you purchase a product, you take a bill, and that one they clearly show central sales tax, general sales tax, goods and service tax, GST, etc., etc. that you are paying, that tax amount you are paying. The burden is on consumer. But when you see the pack, it is clearly written, that is including all taxes. The final price, including all taxes, means what? Already producer is paying some taxes to the government. So burden of taxes, how they will be moved from producer to consumer, and some paid by the producer, some paid by the consumer. That is also under the scope of microeconomics. And models of economic theories, there are plenty of models. There are plenty of microeconomic models which explains us in general randomly what is happening in the economy. For example, we will see in the next classes diminishing marginal utility, equi-marginal utility, indifference curve, variable proportions. There are plenty of models. Those models we are going to discuss under the coverage of scope of microeconomics. Okay, now we will see the macroeconomics. What is meant by macro? Larger parts, bigger parts. When we discuss about the bigger parts like total schools result, total college result, that is macro. One student marks, micro. You are getting the exact idea? Micro supply the information to macro. Macro, when divided into smaller parts, individual parts, then it becomes micro. Total college result is macro. One class result is micro. In the class, total class result is macro. One student result is micro. So means micro sometimes turns to macro, macro sometimes returns to micro. For example, one student's total marks is macro, one subject marks is micro again. So when you see going back, you will see everything micro turning to macro. Total marks of the individuals, see, become macro to micro. Total class marks turn to micro to macro when you make a comparison with total college results. So in this way, micro sometimes turns to macro, macro sometimes turns to micro, but it gives us an idea to understand exactly what is happening. Okay, here we will see the scope of macroeconomics. First one is theory of income and employment. This discusses, macroeconomics discusses about of income and employment. That's why this is called as income and employment theory. There is another name of macroeconomics is income and employment theory. At the same time, see, we have seen all the prices are discussed. That's why microeconomics is sometimes called as price theory, because all the time we are discussing about the prices of product and factors. This is price theory, this is income and employment theory. This is again can be seen in two levels, consumption and investment. See, employment is the result of consumption of public and investment of producers. See here, consumer is there, again producer is there. Through the investment, producer produces the goods, and consumption is resulted by consumers. They put together creates the employment, which create the income to the employees. Okay, this is income and employment theory, which again can be divided into consumption and investment. Consumption and investment. Next, price level and inflation. This is the second thing covered by macroeconomics scope. Under the scope of macroeconomics, price levels and inflation is also one of the point to be discussed. Whether the price levels increasing or decreasing, general price levels, not individual, not any one product. Instead of watching one product, we will see total aggregates, same type of products. Like you take cement industry. Overall in cement industry there are plenty of firms, Kesoram, Mahashakti, there are plenty. Every day you are watching the TV, in the advertisements. So there are plenty of cement manufacturing firms put together called as cement industry. In the cement industry, whether the prices are increasing or decreasing, we will see the total of it. Total. There are plenty of industries put all together. These are firms and this is industry. Okay. If you see one firm price increased or decreased, then it is macro. When you see the total industry prices put together, all the firms increasing or decreasing, that is called aggregate price level. If the aggregate price levels are increasing or decreasing is watched by macroeconomics. So if the prices are increasing, it will be called as inflation. We need to see whether the inflation of the total products increasing or decreasing. That is a very important one, which helps us to understand the economical conditions. If the prices are increasing too high, not a good sign. There is a problem of production. Demand is increasing but production is not increasing. Then the government has to make a proper policy to increase the production. When the production increases, automatically prices will decrease. When the government will take the decision? When they realize the prices are increasing. General price level increasing. Listen again. General price level increasing is called as inflation. About the total industry, let us assume for some time this is sugar industry. These are all sugar firms, and overall in the sugar industry price levels are increasing. Then immediately government will take a decision and it starts giving additional loans and it gives more support to the sugarcane farmers. Then sugarcane production increases. Then the firms will start producing more sugar. When the sugar production increased, automatically price level of that sugar decrease. It all happens when we know, or the government know, price levels increasing or decreasing. So automatically inflation is going to be controlled and decreased. In this way, macroeconomics is supporting overall country. Now, let us see economic growth. We will discuss this at a higher level in the coming classes. Here, we will see at what it is needed. Okay, economic growth means production increasing, real output increasing in any one line. It is called as economic growth. This economic growth supports total increasing of economic development. If every field, every industry starts showing economic growth, it causes economic development. So economic development always depends on economic growth only, but economic growth is generally seen in developed economies. But a country like us, we generally focus on economic development. This economic growth is part of developed economies. Next, macro distribution. This is again the distribution among 4 factors of production. In total land, how much rent it is earning. Total. In the previous one, price levels, one piece of land. Here, total land. Because we are discussing at a macro level, larger level, bigger level. Okay. So here, total labor wages. Out of the production, what is being produced in the economy, because without their contribution nothing is going to be manufactured. So they are supposed to get something. So that something is discussed under this macro distribution. How much interest is earned by the capital is discussed under this macro distribution. I already told you, under the macro distribution we will see whatever been produced, whatever been earned, how it is going to be distributed among 4 factors of production. How the organizer getting his returns of profit is discussed under macro distribution. Last one is business cycles. This is a topic which is supposed to be discussed in detail. You take any industry. For example, nowadays the growing industry is software. Now we will have a discussion simply about the software. Sometimes software industries goes up, okay, and sometimes it goes fall down. This cycle of increasing and decreasing is called as business cycles. Even if you ask your parents, they will give you the answer. Sometimes land prices increases and they will be constant for some time and it starts falling down. Those are called as ups and downs, booms and dooms. The business cycle always moves upper and lower. These business cycles are going to be discussed under macroeconomics. Okay, now we will see the importance. Under this macroeconomic concepts, our governments will formulate and execute different policies. So macroeconomics support the government to make the policies, that is formulating the policies and execution of the policies. For that it gives a lot of data in toto, whether increasing or decreasing. Then the government will make a policy whether to increase or decrease. Just now I told you about the sugarcane farmers and sugar prices. This formulation of policy and execution of policy supported by macroeconomics. Next, resource utilization in developing economies. Already we have seen all the resources are scarce. How to use those scarce resources, how to utilize the scarce resources for developing the total economy. That planning is supposed to be made by the government. Government has to make the policies for scarce resource utilization in developing economy. That is supported by macroeconomics. All the data will be provided by macroeconomics. See the scope of macroeconomics. Now we will see the third one, problems of unemployment and inflation. Problem of unemployment is a bigger one. Every state, every country, every economy, every nation focuses on one thing, that providing employment to all the public. If everyone is getting the employment opportunities, then automatically income levels increases. When income levels increases, automatically production increases because demand increases. When production increases, automatically employment opportunities also increases. When production increases, prices starts decreasing. That is inflation. To avoid the inflation, government has to provide more employment opportunities. To control the unemployment, it's a big problem. Unemployment is a big problem. If you eradicate this problem of unemployment, then automatically everyone will having enough income. Everyone is purchasing enough commodities. The demand increases, production increases. When production increases, prices decreases. That is the relation in between production and prices. We need to increase the prices of production. As the production increases, prices automatically decreases. The problem of inflation will be eradicated or removed for a shorter period or longer period. Next, overcoming the business cycles. Just now I told you, there are plenty of business cycles, not only in software line or not only in the real estate. You will see these business cycles almost in each and every line. Like in the construction, particularly in America, it is being watched. Every 7 years, there is a business cycle in the infrastructure line, that is in the construction line. Every 7 years. Okay, when you reach to the MBA level, you will come across this analysis. So for any line, there is a boom, means prosperity, and a doom, that is fall down. So that will be solved by the government by studying the macroeconomics and by studying the data which is happening. So business cycles can be controlled. Next one is under macroeconomics, national income, aggregate consumptions or total consumptions, aggregate investments, and comparison between different countries will happen under macroeconomics. Until unless you don't know what is the growth rate or national income of other country, you never know whether you are developing or not developing. So to make a comparison with other countries, you need to have the macroeconomic data. We make a comparison. What is the condition of our neighbor countries? What is the condition of developed countries? We will make a comparison. Okay, along with that, we can make a calculation of national income. Total country's income means big. That is macro. total consumption, aggregate consumption, aggregate investments. With these, we will come to a conclusion whether we are equal to other countries whenever you make a comparison with other countries, or we are superior or we are inferior. That can be studied by the governments. If we are inferior, we will try to upgrade ourselves. If our national income is not increasing, instead of not increasing, if it is constant, then we will take a government policy to increase it. In this way, macroeconomics plays a vital role in developing a country. With this, we will conclude this today's lesson of micro and macro economies and the scope of microeconomics and scope of macroeconomics, which is being divided by Ragnar Fish in 1933. In this macroeconomics, we have seen theory of income and employment. Under that, we have seen consumption and investment, aggregate price levels and inflation, economic growth, macro distribution and business cycles. With this, today's lesson is over.